I spilled a huge pile of coffee grounds on the floor taking out the trash today. So, RIP kitchen rug.
Well, I wore all white and ordered yellow curry and red wine for dinner. Who's the dummy now?
Ooh. My dog got stung by a bee at the park this morning. Sometimes I feel like we just can't catch a break.
I'm really into Ozzy's Boneyard right now. What can I say? I want to rock.
Yeah, you do. Have such a good day. Oh, hello, world, and welcome to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that.
Hey, friends. I'm Heather, and you can call me Sneezy today. I
Aw.
blame the flowers. I'm having a really bad allergy day, so
You're
sorry,
having an
flowers,
allergy
but
day,
I blame
huh?
you.
Hi everybody. I'm Sarah. Now, Heather, when you have days like this, do you do like a Claritin? Do you just suffer through it? What do you do?
You know, I do a Claritin, and there are some days where it just doesn't do anything. And I always know right in the morning, I get itchy and sniffly. Take the Claritin, drink tea. I don't even drink a lot of coffee, and it just doesn't do anything. I don't know. It's just barreling over me today.
I think we've talked about this in the past before on the show.
Oh, I'm sure we have.
I don't even know like who I even talk to these days anymore. I'm like, who did I even tell that story to? But when I was a kid, I had horrible like hay fever allergies, kind of like what you're talking about. I mean, debilitating
Yeah.
to the point where like I'd have to stay home from school, and
Wow.
if I was like having fun with friends and it came on, I'd like have to go home because I just wouldn't stop sneezing.
Well, that's me today. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. So maybe
Yeah.
you didn't tell me.
Or
maybe I wasn't listening.
didn't. Yeah, maybe it was another podcast. Apparently, I told all the other people, it was sort of part of life, and I
Sure.
always knew it. You wake up in the morning and you can feel it. You just
Oh.
know it's going to happen. And it would,
Totally.
and I would, even tell my mom, like, I can't go to school. Like, it's going to be one of those days. And I mean, I wasn't fibbing at all.
No, I call it,
was
a
really
sneezing
bad.
day. No,
Yeah.
it's so bad. And I woke up this morning just really, really groggy. And I didn't take, any kind of homeopathic anything that would make me groggy. But I did. Sarah, I had a dream. I had such a meta dream. I had a dream that I was running through torrential rain wearing a very thin robe and no shoes. Like I was basically like naked under my robe. And it was torrential rain, and I'm like running, and I'm running a long distance. Like I knew in the dream, like I had to go really far, and like my feet hurt, and in the dream, like in my mind, in my dream mind, I was like, oh, this would be a good cold open, like for our show. Like I got caught in the rain with no shoes and had to run a mile in bare feet. Boo, like
Yeah. And then you wake up and you're
that
like,
was-
oh, that didn't happen.
I was like, oh man, I forgot to write my cold opens.
It's just a really weird dream.
Dude,
really
what is
weird
happening
dream.
to my brain? I am telling
Yeah.
you, every single morning, I tell my boyfriend some other like crazy dream, and he's just like, "Whoa, what is going on?" It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, the allergy thing is, I mean, I don't know, it probably gives you weird dreams from time
Yeah,
to time.
that could
but
be.
that is
I
something
know the
that,
Benadryls do if I take them at night.
yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Like anytime you're dipping into, sleep aids, it's like you might sleep well, but in the morning you're going to wake up and not feel totally normal
Nope,
because
definitely not.
sedated yourself. But yeah,
Yeah.
when I was doing, the whole allergy stuff, it was like all my friends were like, "Oh my God, Sarah's having one of her episodes again." Like,
Oh no.
we have to like go home from the carnival because like no one can have fun because she can't stop sneezing. And as they say, this too shall pass, because it did. It actually did. I moved to San Francisco, and I feel like that had a lot to do with it because I moved to Ocean Beach, where if anyone's familiar with San Francisco, it's like if you go out to the beach, that's what it's called, Ocean
Sure.
Beach. And that's where I
Fresh
lived because
ocean
that's yeah, very fresh. And I mean, I was right on the water, and my allergies just went away. But then when I came home, quote home, back to, where my parents lived, they didn't come back. It was
Oh,
like
interesting.
I just grew out of them.
Well, I know that I've mentioned this on the show before. I know I've mentioned it. And as they say, when you have it when you're a kid, you kind of grow out of it as an adult. See, I didn't have allergies as a kid, but now I have them. So like you
Yeah.
got it over with. And apparently you end up being allergic to where you grew, like trees that were in the area that you grew up. So like I'm allergic to eucalyptus and oak and stuff that's like so California and like was so in my
Yeah,
neck
right.
of the
And
woods.
they're
And
so
so
pretty. Like it's
I
like such a
know.
bummer.
Such a bummer. Anyway, how is everybody else doing out there? I mean, enough about
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. It also, Heather, just so you know, you aren't alone. A friend of mine who, he is I don't really know how to describe him. His work requires him to travel a lot.
Yeah.
And he has a girlfriend, and she got like two cats recently, and he was like, because he's not in town all that often, he was like, this is like a huge issue. Like she knows I'm allergic to cats. Like
Whoa.
I have to like move out of our apartment and like get my own
Wait,
apartment.
that seems so passive aggressive or something.
Well, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, which I won't even try to, touch. But I was like, wait a second. You've been to like, because he's visited me when, I only have one cat now, Lucy, but I used to have Lucy and Sam. And I'm like, you visited me, and we've like hung out for like several hours, like watching the Super Bowl and stuff. Like, were you just like dying the whole time and you never said anything? And he was like, no, I can do that. Windows are open and there's air and, people and food and whatever. But I can't like sleep overnight with it. Or I
Interesting.
wake up in the morning and I'm like so swollen I can't see. And it's a huge thing. And I was like, wow, that's
Well, it
crazy.
seems like she should have like given him the memo, that she was going to go out and adopt a few cats.
Yeah, that's, I'm gonna stay out of that one. But yeah, but he was like, no, as a kid, like my cat would like sleep in the bed with me. It was never an issue. It only became an issue as I got to a certain age and just
Yeah.
allergies change. So they change
They
for
do.
better or for worse.
It's true. And, I think also for me, like I remember going to a friend's house who had like a short hair tabby cat that I always felt itchy and allergic to. But I've never been officially allergic to cats because I mean, obviously I'm a cat person. I love cats and
You have cats.
I have
Yeah.
cats. But I think it's certain dander. There's like, I like the long haired cats. I find them to be like, I have less sneeziness around them. But I don't know. It's like, there is something to say for the dander. I don't know. They all have different dander. And so you could just be allergic to a certain type of cat. But,
It's
that's
true.
that's another story. But anyway, if you're tuning in for the first time or you've been here every single week with us, and we love you to death, we are the show that talks about the absurdity of everyday life for your entertainment and ours. And we're all in this together. And we mostly just want to have an hour of fun with you all.
We really do. Yeah, that's a really great way to put it, Heather. Well
Thanks.
done.
In my nasally voice, I hope you're enjoying that too.
You actually sound fine to me. I mean, I know you're not feeling super great, but you sound fine. So,
Well, thank you. I was a little worse earlier.
yeah, it's always like I find that like, especially even because I talk about how like salt disagrees with me. Where if like if I have ramen, I wake up in the morning with a moon face,
Yeah.
and like sometimes I look at myself early in the morning where I'm like, I can't do anything. I'm gonna need to like take the day off work. I look a fright. I can't go to the market. Like, look at me. And then like in a couple hours, I'm like, okay, it's better. It's better now.
Maybe it's
I'm
age.
okay.
Maybe it's just like I don't know, you just have to have those. I need them like my coffee because I feel the same way. A lot of mornings it takes me a little bit to feel awake and like ready to go. I think it's that coffee that I need first. So like usually it'll take me an hour to just kind of be like, okay, like I'm ready to start
man.
the day.
The coffee
Never used to be like that
grounds.
for me. I used to just bounce out of bed and have this lust for life, youth. And
I actually, it's weird. I have this thing where like anything that feels like an addiction to me frightens me because obviously I don't want to be addicted to like hard drugs or anything, but like even coffee, I'm like, I want to be able to be the person who can just be like, I'm skipping coffee today.
yeah.
And most days I have coffee. I don't have coffee every day though, but it is a really weird feeling sometimes because it's part of my routine, and it smells good and I like it. And, I get up and I put my contacts in and I have a glass of water and I open up all the shades, that I've drawn, over the night, and I feed my cat and, I get ready to, take Otis out for wherever we're going to go. And then I kind of like, I look at the coffee machine like, do I do it?
Oh man, see, I don't know how you have so much willpower because for me, it's like I mean, unless I'm like really sick and I can't
Trust
drink
me,
coffee,
on the
but
days where I don't do it, I'm not like, I don't feel like I like won. I'm like, I want coffee. It's good. But like, I really do. I just do.
PSA, drink coffee for the win.
That's right. It really, like, I don't, like, who am I kidding? Like, what am I trying to prove here?
Gosh,
But
I'm
I
so
just,
impressed.
I like the feeling of just being like, I don't need this thing in order
Yeah,
to
I get it.
survive.
Yeah.
And so every once in a while I do this to myself. And like, some people, like my mom the other day, I was telling her about it and she was like, oh my God, I would have like a horrible headache and the shakes. Like, I can't skip that. And I'm like, see, I want to be able to skip that and not have those
I
feelings.
know. I feel the same way.
Just
Yeah.
like for my own, I don't know, self preservation or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, to get the shakes and like a massive headache because you didn't have a cup of like Joe in the morning. I mean, it is a drug. It's kind of bad. But I did hear on the
Yeah.
news the other day, though, I swear over the course of doing our show, Sarah, I feel like we've talked about coffee like, oh, in the news, coffee's good for you. Oh, coffee's really bad for you. Well, recently I did hear that like
It's
coffee,
good for you again?
people who, yes, it's good for you, but people who drink coffee will live like a couple years longer than people who don't. And it was like a legit like journalist. Like it was not some rag that I read somewhere in like the depths of the internet. It was so anyway, I'll have to
Well,
Google that again, see if
That's
I can
good
find
news.
it.
Listen, I mean, my mornings when, honestly, also the mornings that I don't have coffee are like, I'm usually kind of like, hey, let's take the dog to the beach kind of thing. Like, ooh, I
Yeah.
shouldn't have said that word.
Oh, it'd be so much
He's in the room
better
with
though
me.
with a cup of Joe and in the car with you.
It would.
A cup of coffee is like a friend.
It would.
It's like a good warm friend.
I love the smell. I love the ritual. I love
Me
everything
too. I
about
love
it.
the ritual.
But I do, and maybe this is just like like I'm just a masochist, but there are days where I'm just like, no, I'm not going to have it and I'm going to be fine. And you're going to be fine, Sarah. And, and I am, I really
Yeah.
don't get I don't have like weird withdrawal episodes about coffee, but I don't totally know what I'm gaining out of it either.
Well, at least you're not growing like a third eye in the middle of your forehead. Then I'd be worried.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I'm a unicorn. So I didn't drink coffee. That'd be so crazy.
That would be
Well,
crazy.
Well, speaking of, taking my dog to the BEACH, I can't say that word again. 'Cause
Not the
he's-
BITCH, not to be confused with
No, not to be confused with that. Although that's what I am.
Yeah, you are. Just kidding.
So there are, we've talked about routines on this show, but plenty of times before.
I think we've
and,
talked about every single word in the dictionary on this show.
pretty much. But I work from home, and there are certain things that I have to do outside of the home, especially as of late, because I have to go to like the hospital all the time these days. But like my work stuff is from home, and it's very schedule oriented. And depending on little things that come up in between those schedules, determines, can I take my dog to the BEACH? Do I have time? Because that's, it's like, it's not that far. It's probably like a 20-minute drive, but then
Okay.
we're there for an hour and then it's a 20-minute drive back. And,
Yeah.
you gotta kind of plan for it. You gotta go early in the morning or you have to go kind of later in the day. And if it's dark, that's weird. It's like, I don't want to be at the beach with my dog. Ooh, God, I said the
No,
word.
that
And,
doesn't seem safe.
yeah, you just can't see it. Yeah, it's just kind of strange, and you don't even know what you're gonna encounter there at those times. But anyway, so because of that, I don't totally know what I'm gonna do with him day by day. We can take walks, which we do, and it's pretty hot here in Northern California still. So it's like right now as we're recording the show, like spoiler alert, we're recording it in the afternoon. But it's like it's way too hot to take him on a walk. Like he'd be like
Wow.
miserable and like panting and like his like paws would hurt. Like no, not happening. We have to like wait till later. But we went this morning because it was early and like it's dewy, so like
Yeah.
we're running around in the grass and it's kind of wet and he's sort of a mess, but like he's happy and dewy. He did get stung by a bee, which is, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, to be honest. But he did, and it's really sad.
Oh,
He did this
buddy.
whole
He
like
has a lot of surface area, though.
he did the bee dance too,
Oh.
where like I always know what that is, where he's like, he looks at me like, why, and then he does like a tippy tap thing, and he's looking at his paw like, why?
And you can't even explain to him what happened, which is so
No,
sad.
no, unfortunately I can't. I
It's like
kind of
maybe he
look at
thinks
it
you
and
did
then,
it.
right, like he's like,
Like,
why
why'd you
did
hurt
you
me?
bring me to this horrible place? We're running around and anyway, so we're at this park that we go to a lot in the mornings, and it's nearby me. It's super great, and he gets to run around for half an hour ish kind of thing. I'm throwing the ball, and there are other people that are there in the morning as well, and I've gotten to know a lot of them. So I know when Diana's there with her dogs, and because I see her car if it's
Aw,
parked.
Diane.
Yeah, Diane's great. So I roll in there and I see her car there and I see that the door's open. So I'm thinking like, oh, she's probably like either just getting out or just getting in, because I'm not like that close. And I park right next to the car, and I look and it's like, Diane's not in there, and none of the like, it's just like a car with an open door, which is a little strange,
A little bit.
So I get out of the car, and usually when we get out of the car at this particular park, I'm throwing the ball. Otis is off and running, and I'm like, no, hold on a second. Let's make sure we know what's going on here. Well, anyway, Diane comes across the street, and she's got all her dogs on a leash, which is unusual. She has 3 dogs, and said, "What? Hi, what happened?" I said, "Your car's open." I was a little concerned, and she says, "Oh gosh, there was another dog, with some other like weirdo who like ran into the street, and one of my dogs ran after the dog and like
Oh,
stopped
no.
traffic, and it was a whole thing, and nobody's hurt, but it was a whole thing, and she was quite rattled, and she kind of was like, yeah, I'm gonna go." She gets in her car and goes, and Otis and I just kind of did our thing. But I thought to myself like how much I have become friends with these people because we have one shared interest.
Yeah.
Would we be friends otherwise? I don't know. I mean, maybe. But how would you ever even meet somebody like that?
Yeah.
It's the dogs. It's the dogs. We have the shared interest and we have the same schedules. So yeah, like at 8 a.m., 8:15, it's like highly likely I'll see Diane at the park. And her dogs are really cute, and Otis, they all sniff each other and kind of do their thing. But yeah, it's a funny thing, kind of navigating the dog follies, because yeah, you get the wild cards every now
You
and
do.
then where it's like some weirdo with a dog who like the dog is either off the rails or they're like mad that you also have a dog, where you're like, what the hell? I come here every day and it's fine. Otis just
And you
wants to
catch
like
people
get
on
stung
bad
by a bee
days.
in the grass.
And like some people are so funny about like when you like I remember stepping out of the car recently with my friend's dog Margie, and this guy kind of walked toward his car, which is next to where we parked, and we just got out of the car. So Margie jumped out without a leash, and he was so pissed that she wasn't on a leash when he had his dog in his arms, and we were just getting like settled into putting the leash on, and he just was like very unfriendly, very upset. And it was like, whoa, oh, sorry, buddy. Like, didn't mean to upset you. And just, he made a lot of these snarky remarks. And yeah, I mean, I don't own a dog
Yeah.
personally. I mean, I have Frank, I'm like the stepmom, but like, but I sometimes babysit. So I get it on some level. But I love that kind of like perfect stranger thing, like that friendship, that random friendship with someone that you would otherwise not really be close to. I really love those relationships. It's kind of like we talked about this when you lived in Venice and you used to go to the corner store and you were like buds with like the cashier,
Oh, I
stuff
still
like
miss
that.
him.
I
I
know, I
miss him
love that. I
still.
love those
Yeah.
people. I still think about those
Yeah.
people too.
I know. I sometimes wonder, like, I'm like, I wonder if he still works there. Like, if I just like
Should go
walk
visit
in one
him.
day, I'm like, surprise!
He's like,
That would,
Sarah.
it's the routine based stuff where you
Yeah.
meet people who are really, really nice
Yeah.
and that you like them, but don't, you wouldn't really hang out necessarily because why would you ever even meet each other? But
Yeah, it's funny.
they're nice folks.
And do you cross the line? Because like I've had sometimes where it's like someone at a cafe or whatever, like, hey, we should go for a walk on the beach sometime, and it wasn't like a romantic thing, but like, but then
Are
you're
you
like, here's
sure?
my cell phone number, and I don't know, maybe it was, and then you never really reach out, but it's no big deal. It's not like anyone's feelings are hurt, but at the same time, you're like, well, maybe you could be like really great life friends, but yeah, it's like there's these strange lines that do you cross them? I mean, I kind of like having some of these relationships like at an arm's distance, at arm's length. It's nice
Yeah.
to be able to see them at the cafe and rap with them, a couple times a week, and maybe that's just what it is. It's interesting.
Well, speaking of weeks, it's been one since you and I were last hanging on the show with all our friends, Heather. But did you have any standout days?
Oh yes, I always do, Sarah. I always do. A quick update, actually. Mr. Bear came back, and I have photographic proof,
Oh
but
my
it'll cost
God!
you. Yeah, yeah. I
It'll
I
cost you
gotta send you the
$5 to
video.
get into a Discord.
It'll cost you $5. No, really, I'm going to post it to Discord. So there's your chance. And
Oh
this
my
time,
gosh, you have a new pet bear.
Mr. Bear, he came back for the huckleberries, and we're totally bear stalking around here. It's so funny. So my neighbor, who's my gardener and my friend, she's the one that has Margie the dog. She hadn't seen the bear the first time, and she was like, kept texting me in the morning, like, "Did you see the bear again? Is the bear here? Did the bear come back?" And it's like everyone's just like on alert. And apparently they were he was over at their house eating huckleberries really early the other morning. And so they got some video, and they're texting me, and both me and Elijah go outside, and we're like, going, trying to find him, and this whole thing. I mean, it's not very smart. Okay.
I love the idea of a bear just being like,
Me
yum, yum.
too.
Yeah, huckleberries, yum, yum.
And he's like,
That's
blah,
just
blah,
so
blah. He's like
adorable.
leaning into the bush, all like,
And think about like a bear, like their body, and like the
oh my
fact
God,
that
they're
they're like,
hilarious.
I can pick a berry.
It's so cute.
Yum
It's just
yum.
like I
It's
just like I
so
wish I
cute.
know that they're dangerous. I do. I know this. And of course
Sure.
I'm like running off toward like the dark side of the bushes. It was early in the morning, and Elijah's like, "Dude, this is a dangerous animal that you're stalking. Like, do you understand that?" I'm like, "I do. I just don't care." I'm like, I want to meet him. I want to see him. And if I get scratched, then I get scratched. No, I'm just kidding. No, really, I would be careful. But I had a pretty good week. I had some very successful sleuthing, Sarah. I think we're on our way to our new business.
Yeah? Good.
Yeah, crack some mysteries, crack some
The
codes.
HSTD detective agency.
Yes. and yeah, so
Only
that's
half kidding.
half 60/40. And so an interesting thing happened. I found out that my boyfriend is a really good bouncer, apparently. And this was a sort of quick on your toes, I have to be a bouncer, because the other night I was super cozy on the couch. We had a fire in the fireplace, watching a movie. I'm like getting sleepy. It's like approaching 10 o'clock. And the other guest from, so there, we have two cabins, and the one that's closest to us is a smaller cabin. And the woman had already been kind of texting me about stuff throughout her stay. She was one of those, but she texted me again. I was like, oh no. Cause you see the number, it's like 818
Well,
something.
especially
And
like at 10 p.m., you're like,
Yeah.
this better be good.
totally. And usually if I get a phone call like if I get a phone call from like a random number, it's either an Airbnb guest or spam. Most of the time it's spam, but like I have to answer it because it could be a guest. So she's texting me, and we already had some issues with our, the electricity popped off while she was here. I mean, she kind of had a little bit of a doozy couple days. I feel a little bad, and she was very nice about it, but she definitely was, I could tell she was annoyed. So I felt really bad, but like our generator didn't pop on. The electricity wasn't out for long, and it was during the day, but still. So that night around 10 o'clock, she's like, I mean, the text was funny. It was like, normally, I mean, we come out here to have a peaceful time. And I mean, I usually go to bed at 9:30. And I mean, do you hear that bass coming from the party next door? And I was like, huh? I'm like,
Oh, God.
no, it's super peaceful over here. Cause like our house is on the other side. We, like I've said before, have a lot more like peace and serenity on this side. But
Yeah.
I'm like, no, like, what are you talking about? And there's really no other like nearby neighbor. I mean, we have neighbors, but they're not that close that you would maybe hear the bass of some speakers. The other next door is my other rental cottage. And I was like, so I like scrambled to look like who's staying there, who's staying in the cottage, like what's going on. And so, I mean, I don't want to be the one that goes over to this cottage. I don't know who's there exactly. Like it could be some creepy dude or, throwing some crazy scary party. I mean, I don't know. So like, I'm so glad my boyfriend, he threw on his hoodie, his hood up for like ample intimidation factor. And
Yeah.
he went over there.
Yeah.
It was a whole
nothing,
thing.
Nothing like a hoodie to intimidate
I
others.
was really impressed. He was like, he literally broke up a DJ party. Sarah, they like pitched a tent on the bluff, like out, like basically we are on the cliff of the ocean. We are like, it's like obvious that this is a place you go to have a peaceful, relaxing time, not to really throw a
Totally.
party. I mean, it's just, come on,
Or if you were throwing a party, you would
rent out the whole thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
And say ahead of time, like, hey, just so you know, like it's my 40th birthday or like
Exactly.
whatever it is.
Yeah, and the thing is-
and you kind of gauge the situation so that you don't have situations like this once you're there.
Exactly. And the thing, it's explicit on the website on Airbnb that like no parties allowed. And I mean, it's kind of a given. It's like no one's going to really want you to throw a party at their house. I mean, I'm sorry, at their rental. But I think some people do ask, they say, could we have a small wedding? About 10 people, and it always ends up being
Yeah,
more.
we get that too.
And it's just,
Yeah.
so, but
I
there-
always say no because I'm like, it turns into an event real
it
quick.
does. It does. And then
And
there's all
then
the cars.
like you need like permits for that.
Yeah, totally.
And like I'm just like,
People don't understand. It's like they're like, it's going to be really small. There's going to be just like maybe 6 or 10 people, and you're like, I know how these things go. It's going to be 15
it's
people,
gonna be
maybe
20 to 25 people.
Yeah, exactly. And there's
And like
nowhere
like
to park.
the caterer, yeah, it's gonna like park weird, and then like I
Exactly.
can't get out, and yeah.
And I gotta say, like he was like the valet one day. Like my boyfriend wears all these hats. I mean, we all wear a lot of hats. Let's be honest. But like, there's so many dude appropriate jobs around here, especially with the Airbnbs. I mean, obviously with the property, you've got like lots of tools that I don't want to use, and he's got the machetes. I'm like, I don't really want to use those, and so like, when it comes to this kind of thing, it's like, I don't want to have to go over there and be the intimidator and just, I don't, even though I'm the manager, like I run this thing, but like, God, I'm so glad he did that. And so the guy who, it's funny, after I looked back at the guy who stayed, he just chose one night. Sometimes those one-nighters are suspect, I swear. And I don't have many
Shouldn't
more.
have one-nighters anymore.
No, and the thing is that's actually like one of the last ones in my calendar. The problem is when you make a change, it takes a while for it to take effect because it's like I had some one-nighters already booked. But so
Right.
he basically, I look back at the conversation and, the guy doesn't have a photo, which I think I would have flagged if I would have seen that. He didn't have a photo on his profile, but he was like, it was a legit profile, but he was a quick note, nice, hi, I'm excited
Yeah.
to stay at your cottage. It's my birthday. And I'm like, but nothing like, it's my birthday. Like, I want to have some friends over. Like, it didn't at all like, lead to it being like a bigger thing. It was just kind of like, all right, cool, dude, happy birthday, right on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but it's crazy. There was a whole tent, there were speakers. Thankfully, the party, there was only like 6 cars out there at the time. But dude, don't get me wrong. I love a good dance party, but this is not the place. And I realized these kids were like in their 20s and they were from the adjacent city and they just wanted to have a party and they were nice. They ended up being nice and they all left. And so we didn't have to even clean the beds or anything. They didn't even stay the night.
Oh.
So
Oh,
it was
so
kind of
they,
a plus,
they,
but
it was
they
a,
just took
it was
off.
a,
I
it
think
was a
they
get
felt
out of here
bad.
situation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you break the rules, that's what happens.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, they don't know any better. It's like that's the problem. You have these young. This has happened before to some extent, and when you're in your early 20s, it's like you don't think about you don't think of the neighbors. You don't. It's not like you're being a
No,
jerk per se. You're just
no.
naive. I mean, I know what that's like.
Yeah, the last time there was a, quote party here, which wasn't recently, admittedly, but it was like in April, and it was somebody that had scheduled a trip very last minute. Where like there was like a little, she looked at our calendar and she was like, I can fit in here, and I was like, because I get paid when people are here, which is the whole reason that I do this, so I was like, all right, we can accommodate you, but her whole story to me was like, hey, it's my birthday and my family and I are just going to come up for like a fun, relaxing weekend. And I'm like, great, this is the perfect place for that. That's not what it was at all. It was a full on like 20-person crazy DJ party. I mean, when I say crazy, they really didn't take it, past 10 p.m. They really
Sure.
did. They went inside, which is totally my cutoff. Where like if they had not, I would have been like, yo, pack up the shit and get out of here. But they did. But I mean, during the day, it was like, I'm just kind of looking outside the window, like, and of course, I never try to spy, but I'm like, that is like, what are you doing? And like weirdos like slept on the deck outside
Yeah,
overnight,
that's not cool, man.
And like the next morning, I'm like, is everyone all right? Like, I kind of want to like, make sure like you I don't know, you have some vitamins or whatever. But yeah, that was the only time where I was like, that was like, you just full on lied and you didn't realize that I was going to be here to like kind of look over you. And then you didn't even care anyway.
I know
Like,
exactly.
it's sort of like you. It's like if somebody like goes up to your property, Heather, and is like, I kind of get the lay of the land. Let's throw the party anyway. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah, I know. It's just, what are you thinking? I don't know. Maybe it's us being older and more experienced with stuff. And again, I just have to chalk it up to just being young and naive. But who knows? If
Who
you are
who
listening,
knows? Yeah.
guy without a photo on Airbnb, fess up.
Yeah. Where's your photo, dog? What are you hiding? So I wanted to talk quickly. This is a very personal thing, but like not like, oh my gosh, if you listen to the last couple of episodes, like this is not heavy. Trust me, I won't get into anything heavy today, but the idea of being a small person. I am a small person. And it's funny because when I've always been little. I'm just a little person. And when I was growing up, I was always the littlest kid in class. And it's weird because as an adult woman, I mean, I'm 5'2", and there are a lot of other women that are small. They're all over the place. But like, I'm like, I don't know where they were when I was growing up because everyone was just taller than me. I guess I just grew a little bit more slowly than everybody else. Anyway, I'm still not big. I'm a small person. But I've got this friend. He's a good friend of mine, and he was married last year, and it was during COVID, and so they got married in their living room and kind of like did a Zoom with the efficient.
Wow.
This is in San Francisco. Yeah. So I have not met his wife. I know him, but I don't know his wife. And he said, and he's pretty tall dude. And he had said like in a group text something about because they just had a baby. Well, I don't think that our baby's going to be super tall because I knew I was getting what I was getting into when I married this dwarf. And so, and I kind of looked at that where I was like, I don't even know what that means, but I was like, is she a dwarf? Like, and if she is, that's totally fine. It just would have
Sure.
been a detail I would have expected to have known about, you know? And so, and, some time goes by and we're talking about other stuff. And I was like, just want to ask about the dwarf thing. Is she, like, and he was like, no, she's not a dwarf. She's not medically a dwarf. And I was like, well, okay, it would be fine if she was, but like, how tall is she? And he's like, I don't know, like off the top of my head, like she's like your height. I'm like, okay, would you call me a dwarf? And and he was like, oh God, Sarah, I don't need you to like insert yourself into like this like weird like he was like very, very annoyed with me for asking such a thing. But I'm like, I just kind of want to know, because I feel like that's a term that is like it's pretty specific. And I don't think it's very kind to throw it around to people, if that isn't what they are. And like, and just for a pause here, it's like, I do not care about being a tiny person. I mean, I think like, I don't know. I mean, if you were like a supermodel, right? Like, unless you're Kate Moss, you better be like 5'11",
Yeah.
and like super pretty. Not that Kate Moss isn't pretty, she just happens to not be very tall. But
Yeah.
like that's like a thing where I'm like, oh yeah, of course, that's something that I would never pursue. It's not going to happen, but like who cares? But I also feel like it's like I don't like the whole sort of like, oh, it's better if you're bigger and it's
Yeah, I
worse if you're
know.
smaller thing.
Yeah.
Because like I'm like, why? I've never felt that way. I've 100% never felt that way. I feel like people might, make comments and stuff, but like it's never hindered me in any sort of way. Anyway, so I don't know how my friend feels about me today. He's probably like super annoyed, but like I was like, I just feel like that's like one of those things that you just kind of have to like,
You have to
don't throw
embrace
it
it.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like or don't throw out something that like is supposed to like be derogatory.
Yeah.
Which like number one, that's not nice to people in general. But number two, for people like me, I'm like, that's not nice either.
No.
Like it just it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I don't know. I really don't have a complex about this at all. I
No,
mean,
you
I
don't.
am,
You
I'm
embrace it.
yeah, I'm little. Like my mom is like, well, she's taller than me, which is super annoying, but like she's a little bird person, like tiny bird bones, And like we're just small people.
Yeah.
That's what we are. And yeah, it's kind of odd when you get people who have some preconceived notion about like if you're healthier, you're taller,
Yeah. I
or if you're
know,
taller,
totally.
you're more powerful or whatever.
Yep.
And I'm like, what? Oh, okay. I mean,
Yep.
sure. Good for you. But anyway, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but it was just something I was thinking about today.
No, I think it is interesting. And I mean, most of the time, I feel like a smaller woman, guys like that because they can like overpower them and pick them up. Or, it's like there's a nice, I feel like you don't really hear about that so much. Maybe you hear a little bit more about the girl dating the short guy, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do I know?
Oh,
But like
I
my,
know all about the, Yeah, the
Yeah.
tall guy who likes the short girl for sure.
Totally. And my boyfriend's like 6'2". He's really tall. He's actually taller than I normally date. Like I'm kind of no, I mean, full disclosure. I'm more of a like an I date like 5'11". Like that's kind of my ideal. I'm like medium. I'm about 5'6" and a
Yeah.
half or something. No, I'm
Well,
no, I'm
you're
like I'm
and you're
5'6".
also you're very thin, so I
Yeah.
don't think you come across as like a tall person, but you're not
No.
short either.
I have long legs ish. Like I have
Yeah.
longish legs. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I look tall or short, but I do feel like when I first met Elijah, I was intimidated by his height. I've never been that girl that's like, oh, I have to have a really tall guy. Like I know those girls, and I never dated anyone that tall. I kind of liked someone that was a little, a few inches. I mean, 5'11". That was always my favorite height. But like, yeah, I mean, I hear about his woes all the time. He can't even fit in my car. And I have like an SUV. And I mean, he's always adjusting the seat like to the polar opposite of it's so funny. Actually, this is a funny little anecdote. Like so I have a car that has two settings. It's two buttons on the side. It's a nice-ish car, but when you get into the driver's seat, you can do two settings, two seat settings, so that you don't
Right,
have to
right.
like, if you have two people driving the car and it's like a totally different configuration, you can just hit button one and it'll go back to my configuration. Because I'm telling you, his and mine are the complete opposite. All the mirrors it's like I can't even see out of the mirrors. I mean, it's just like everything. The seat, he pulls it way back and makes it way lower. I like it high and forward. I mean, it's a little irksome sometimes because I'm like, oh man, he drove my car. Like I need another 5 minutes to just like get settled here. But for him, I mean, he's always uncomfortable. He doesn't like flying. He loves traveling, but he really doesn't love flying because he's always uncomfortable. He has long legs and he can't fit in any of these seats because they're made for little people. And, I feel for him. I mean, I think it doesn't seem hard to be small. It seems hard to be tall. But yeah, I wish the world was a little bit more like egalitarian in that sense, because I think a lot of society stuff. I mean, it's pushed this certain kind of body type, in the magazines and the actresses and what is the kind of idyllic, shape of a male and a female
Yeah.
figure. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
particularly females.
particularly, yeah, for sure.
Well, and it's funny because Heather and I have worked in show business, so to speak, for so long that it's like you see people in real life and you're like, oh my God, they're so much littler than
Yeah.
they seem on TV.
They always
And
stand on an
that's
apple box.
totally. And I've always gotten that as well. Always. Anytime anyone meets me, which is like, it's not like I have like a live audience for like my podcast shows these days, but I have in the past, or you go into like CES or some other place where you're going to meet people in person, and the number one thing is people go, "Wow, you seem so much taller on TV," and I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know,
Like, how do you take
I'm not
that?
offended by it, but it's also not a compliment. Like,
No.
I don't know what to tell you, dog.
Yeah.
That's here I am, wearing heels or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. I'm still gonna look very small.
It's
But
really funny.
yeah, it is. It's a strange thing. Like people equate height with lots of things.
They
that
do.
I don't really think about all that often, but
I don't
I
either.
realize that other people do. I mean, sure, if I want to be an NBA star, gotta be more than a foot taller than I am right now. At the
Not
bare
gonna
minimum.
happen.
Yeah, maybe two. Not gonna happen. But I don't. So who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's a strange thing. And this really comes down to personal preference, right?
Sure. Of
People
course.
saying, "Oh, it's better if you're bigger rather than smaller," and I'm like, it's better if you're smaller. Like,
I agree.
You've been on an airplane recently, like. You big people are suffering way more than I am. Like I'm just
and
kinda
like
chilling.
and Elijah like bumps his head on. We have like a loft area. We have this like that studio add-on on our house, and there's like this kind of low ceiling loft area, and he's always bumping his head. I feel so bad for him because yeah, I mean, I don't envy his height. Like I'm glad that I'm medium, maybe on the shorter side. I don't know, but yeah. And sometimes I don't know. It can go so many ways because sometimes I'll see like a tall, lanky girl, and I don't know. Sometimes they look like a giraffe, and it's maybe not that attractive, but it is personal preference. And
It totally is. Yeah.
it's funny. It's like this whole like this is actually interesting. It's going to kind of lead into what I have to talk about today, but it's like I want to talk a little bit about a different kind of celebrity. I mean, we're all very familiar, like these days especially, everybody's a celebrity. I mean, not just a movie celebrity, but not even just an internet celebrity, but there's like TikTok celebrities and there's YouTube celebrities, and it's endless. It's like you can kind of be a celebrity pretty easily now, I feel like, and it can get empty and tiring. I mean, it just can. I mean, sure, like I always admire like good actors and people who bring something to the table that I love, or they make me laugh or whatever. So that's cool. But last week we gave big ups to Sarah. You gave big ups to nurses and frontline workers, and obviously that is
Indeed. Yeah.
critical group of people. But this week I want to give it up to the local peach guy, because I just feel like living in a smaller community, I have really learned a lot of like new things. And that is, things just function differently in a smaller community. When you're in a big city, there's just so many people. There's, a lot of fish of a kind of skill. Like if you're a producer there, you're just like a small fish in a big pond kind of thing. And up here where I live, it's a smaller community, and there's this guy. So it's actually kind of funny. So I went to college here very briefly, and I played soccer. We had actually this incredible soccer team. I had some incredibly fun times up here in college, and I was here for about a couple years, and then I went to Paris for a year, and then I came back and graduated and moved to San Francisco. So I wasn't here like my whole college, but I ended up playing indoor soccer, which I've always played outdoor soccer, and I've always been I played soccer for 15, 20 years, and I was very serious about it, and I took it pretty far. And, we had some pretty, serious competitions, went to state, all that stuff. So, but I always had fun. I enjoyed the game. So when I came to college, I really wanted to play again. So I played on an outdoor team, but they also had this super fun indoor soccer league that I had never played indoor, and it was co-ed. And most of my life I played just like with other women. Oh my God. I mean, it was seriously the best soccer I played my entire life. And this is where I met the peach guy. His name is Jacques, and he stayed up here. He went to college. We were buds in college, and we played on this award-winning soccer team in college. He was so good. We were such a good team. Like I can't even express like how much fun we had. And especially it was so fun to play with guys. I prefer playing with guys than girls, honestly. But he was always, and I look back on those days, and I remember like hanging out at his house, and he was a botanist. He was really into growing things. He had so many plants. I mean, ceiling to floor, like all over his house, like little projects. And he has literally become a local celebrity. He's known as, I mean, he makes award-winning peaches. I'm not kidding. Like they are literally melt in your mouth, the perfect peaches you've ever had.
Are there award shows for the peaches?
Yeah, there are. I mean,
yeah. Okay.
I don't know if it's award shows. I think it's more like there are some kinds of, I don't know how it works.
There's some sort of ceremony where his peaches are deemed the best.
Yeah, and I'm not even kidding. I'm not even blowing any smoke. Like he has gotten it down to like a perfect science, and he's known for it. Like everybody knows Jacques in town, the peach guy. Oh my God, Jacques peaches. I mean, you talk to just anybody on the street, they know this guy, and he lives in a place called Willow Creek, which is east. They just had some fires. In fact, I saw him and chatted with him a little bit this weekend at the farmer's market and bought some of his peaches, obviously. And I kind of told him, I'm like, you're such a local celebrity, because he had fire come right up to his crops and stuff. And he just had some really cool stories about how everybody helped him put out these fires. And I mean, gosh, he has created an empire. I mean, he actually grows plums and pluots and tomatoes and melon. I mean, he has other things. But these are basically like the line at the farmer's market, no joke, is like a mile long to get his peaches. And like all the nice restaurants in town, like are, it's like Newcomb Farm Peaches, serving Newcomb Farm. That's his last name, and that's what his farm is called. So it's like any fancy desserts or any, like, it's like his stuff. And I just think it's such a cool kind of celebrity. It's like, this guy makes the best peaches you've ever had. Like, what a legacy. Like, his kids, like, my dad made peaches. Like, I just think it is so cool. And I just would like you to think about who in your community or who you think deserves celebrity status. I mean, I don't know, like, screw these on screen people. Let's dig up some interesting folk.
Speak for yourself, Heather.
I know, seriously. And I don't know, email us. I'd love to hear your thoughts, or just jump into Discord, $5 level, and talk to us real time.
Yeah, speaking of Discord, if you're not a patron, if you are a patron, thank you very much. We couldn't do it without you. And if you're not, or you're considering, maybe go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/have such a good day, to find out more about how you can directly support the show. Some of those perks include not having ads in your feed, and also joining our Discord. For anybody at the $5 and up level, you can be part of our Discord, and our Discord community is just the best. I mean, I know I gush over it every week, but
it really is, though.
Just like such a great group of folks, and we'd love to have you as well. So if you want to be part of the deal, go on over to patreon.com/have such a good day and find out more about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, say you're having kind of like a glum Monday morning. I mean, you just kind of pop in there, say hello, and like, you have people who talk about an interesting kind of friendship. We've never met each other in person, but like, we have a little thing going, and it's a fun, interesting type of friendship. Like, I love it.
It really is. And I know, not to be like, I don't know, like too morose or anything, but I know people are having a hard time.
Yeah,
a lot of my friends. I mean, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm certainly not exempt from this, but
yeah,
I think that having friends, and those friends being wherever they may be in the world, are really great for all of us, and make us feel better, and it certainly lightens my life. So I just, I hope that if you're looking for that kind of kinship, that you would join us there.
Yeah, that'd be so great. And I really do, and I've said this before, I do get like my heart warms when I get like a little note or a little email from you guys, or like on our Patreon page, you can comment on things. So we did get a few that it's been a fun conversation with Millie the Torty 2120.
Hey, Millie.
She is responding to, I referred to like this actress who was kind of a teenager in the 70s, and she was in a lot of great movies like An American Werewolf in London. A lot of you have seen that great movie, Logan's Run. And her name is Jenny Agutter. And she writes in, she says, really a fine actress and stunning. See her in the BBC series called Call the Midwife, with the same gorgeous sparkle in her eyes 50 years later. Great presence on screen. Going back, she was in, a bunch of films. She was on a bunch of BBC series, and some before her time, and then all of them before my time, apparently. I guess I'm very young still yet. But thanks for the recommendation. Rest in peace, John Paul Belmondo, who, there's so many things I want to say about him, but she says, a mountain of talent and cool. We'll be watching Jenny this evening. Millie the Torty thanks you also. She's recruiting more of our cats for Patreon and praying for Lucy and her mom.
Oh, thanks, Millie. That is so nice
so
of you. And it's so great because, honestly, I mean, listen, let's be honest. Heather has film... she leans towards films that I'm like, yeah, I'm probably never gonna watch.
I know you get
those.
kind of lazy. It's easy to get lazy about stuff.
I don't know. I like my sports and my reality shows. It's just,
totally
I never. There's certain things I'm not gonna watch, but other people who write in and say, no, I watched it, or I get your, kind of like kind of your your deal, and I want to recommend something else to you. And that's
I
really
love it.
nice as well.
No, it's great. And I mean, it wouldn't be, I didn't really know about Jenny Agutter until I was just like, who is that? And I, looked her up and I started to watch more of her movies, but I'm really impressed that you know of her. And also Jake A. He's been a long time listener. What's up, Jake? He is
Hey, Jake.
responding to, he hasn't seen the new Candyman yet. I talked about that in the last episode, but he's looking forward to it. He's currently compiling a list for this upcoming October horror movie month. He says he's got some bangers this year. Woo. And so to give you a little context, we last year, it was so fun. I can't believe it's been a year since we did it last. It's just crazy. But so
Everything
Jake
is just
started
flying by. It's
I know it's scary. I don't like it. It is psychotic. But Jake was really cool. He posted on our Patreon like, hey, here's some great movies. Like, what are you guys watching? Because there's this thing you do 31 days of horror movies in October. It's really fun. You just kind of watch horror movies all month and then you kind of talk about them. So we did that last year. So it sounds like we're going to do it again this year. I'm totally pumped. So you guys, please join us. We'll start a thread. Oh, and we also have an increased patron.
And that is Addison Zimmerlin, which, by the way, so I don't want to blow up your spot too much, Addie, but Addison is now Evan. Addison has gone through quite a personal journey, and we are so thrilled that he is feeling good, and that is not my story to tell, but Evan, if you're listening, I love you very much, and and thank you for being a patron.
Yeah,
You
we love
rock,
having you.
bro.
It's been so great. We've been working together for, off and on over the years.
Yeah.
We met so long ago. So it's so great to have you. And we'll be talking more, I'm sure. So, all right,
Indeed.
Sarah, that was fun.
Yeah, I agree, Heather. It was fun. Every show is a journey.
It really is.
But it's so fun to just hang out with all of you and
Yak it up.
And
Such a pleasure.
talk it out. And, as you know, my whole thing is a little up in the air about how life is going to go for me. But I really, really just want to say how much I enjoy these times that we all have together. It really means a lot to me. And the fact that other people enjoy it too means so much more. And I'm going to stop talking about it or else I'll cry.
Aw, no, it's so fun. This is a very special show and you guys are a very special audience. So thank you for being with us for so long. We love you. And on that note, we will continue to hopefully entertain and at least entertain us next week. In the meantime, I will stay Heather. I'll remain
Are you
Heather.
sure?
I will. I think so. I don't know. I might wake up tomorrow someone else.
I don't know.
One never knows.
Like Sether.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like
That is
so many times that Heather and I have been confused for each other. It's amazing that no one's ever called either of us Sether. Yes, Heather will remain Heather and I will remain Sarah.
Actually, this is really funny. So my friend Jill, her kid Vincent, he listened to the show recently, and him and I are buds. Like, he's my bud. I'm going to go see him next month in Los Angeles. And he could not distinguish between you and me. And I think we do have, but for us, I feel like our voices are very distinctive, but I can kind of see how people do get confused.
But even and we probably talked about this before, so pardon me if I'm being a broken record, but even when Heather and I worked in an office together with, various coworkers, I was always called Heather. I'd be like, I'm sorry. And they'd say, I'm sorry.
You're like, it's okay.
And it's it's weird because we're not that similar.
No, we're just spunky blondes. We're actually brunettes, but...
Yeah, I know. Don't tell anybody. Surprise!
Spoilers.
But no, anytime I work with Heather, people call me Heather. So I'm
I
like,
get the
okay.
same.
I mean, it's fine.
It's all good.
fine.
We're interchangeable.
Yeah, we are. We have different skill sets, but
We do.
you know.
I think so too. But we work well together. And
Yes, yes, we do. And on that note, all
right, we're really gonna hang it up now.
Heather. All right.
All right, love
have
you
such a
guys.
good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.